My name is Jacoby Holland. I'm one of the co-founders of Revel. With me, I always have the lovely Lulu Sway. Hi, Lulu. How are you today?
Hey, Jacoby. Thank you, Oscar, for such always being our beat master. And welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. One of the most common questions Jacoby and I always get is, how do I get a job in cannabis? How do I start? So today we have an awesome panel with experts on how to answer that question. So turning it back to you, Jacoby.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you. Once again, thank you, DJ O, our chief vibes officer. I think that came up last week. It's going to stick. Um, and also, we will send a link later to tip your DJ. We got creatives all over the world that are just making beautiful things, and we want to support them. So make sure you check out DJ O. Um, when we get started here today, I want to preface with the fact that our first person that's going to speak here is a great friend of Lulu and myself, Vladamir Bautista, representing New York to the fullest. If you guys haven't heard of Happy Munkey, I'm not sure if you've actually smoked weed in New York. This guy has really been a pioneer to the industry at large, especially on the East Coast. And I can't thank him enough for that. Vlad, I invite you to turn your video on. There we go. What's good, bro? How you doing?
How's it going? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me on here. Lulu, Jacoby, family, I appreciate you guys.
We appreciate you. Look, you can see, honestly, in our attendees, it's popping today. They are here to learn how to get into the industry. And I have to say, of all people, this is the networking master. These are like tips to the trade from the networking master. It's honestly an art form that you have perfected. So I'm curious. I know you prepared some things to share. You got some gems. I know we can't always get the special sauce, but hopefully you'll give us a little bit of the sauce.
No, man, I'm honored. Thank you for those kind words. And no, man, I definitely want to, give people tips because I feel like nowadays, because of social media and our phones, I feel like the art of networking has got lost a little bit. And I think that people really need to understand that at the end of the day, what's going to get you further in life in this industry or any other is making deep connections with people.
100%.
Yeah, most definitely. Especially in this time, it's kind of an awkward time. I know it's going to be hard for people or they just got to get more creative to make it happen. Do you want to share your presentation with everybody?
Yes. Presentation. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. So I am Vladamir Bautista, co-founder and CEO of Happy Munkey, and this is Networking Made Easy by me. Hopefully, this will give you guys some tips and some jewels to make it easier for you to really, step into your power and your networking game. I want to thank everybody that put this together, from Lulu to On the Revel to Jacoby to, Cole Schultz, Can Inclusive, my fellow panelists, Gabby from People Work, David from Flowerhire. I really appreciate being a part of this, and I really feel like it's necessary to definitely educate the people on all the ways that they can get into this industry. So why is networking important, ladies and gentlemen? Networking is important because in any industry, your network is your net worth. But the cannabis industry is very small. And also, it's definitely a new emerging industry, and a lot of people, are not just open to just sharing information. The information isn't as accessible as other industries. So it's very important for you to make deep connections and real relationships and friendships with people. Because, for example, me, myself, my networking, what it's done for me and my company is connected me with everything from doctors, lawyers, politicians, athletes from all over the country and all over the world. So definitely networking is a pivotal part of you being successful in this industry and just in life, you know, and I feel like I'm a prime example of that. So I'm gonna give you a few tips, and we're gonna start with the first one. My first tip would be confident. So it sounds simple, but being confident is very important. But at the same time, you know, because if you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe in your vision, nobody else will. So it's very important that you really believe in what you're speaking about and your vision, because if not, no one else will. Now, the balance is that you have to be confident and you have to know that your vision is very clear in what you're doing. But the balance is, I'm going to give you a philosophy that I've used in my life. So what I use is that I'm not better than anybody and no one is better than me. So what that helps me do is that no matter if I step in a room with a billionaire or with the mailman, it keeps me even keeled either way. So what does that mean? That means that if I'm stepping in a room with billionaires, nobody's better than me. So I feel comfortable approaching them and speaking to them like I would speak to anybody else. Now, it goes the same way when it's somebody that, you know, is a regular person. You want to also make sure you're not looking down on anybody, and you know the playing field is even and you're giving everybody that your undivided attention and you're really hearing them out and you're really valuing their time. So I think being confident is very important because in life, confidence wins. Now, the next one that I'm going to make sure that I tap into is shoot your shot, because in life, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So what does that mean? That means that, you know, you might be in a small proximity with a person that, you know, can change your life or give you a crazy opportunity. And, you know, you might be intimidated, but you never want to live life with the woulda, coulda, shoulda. You know, I always say, I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid of not trying. So I think it's very important that you do what you're in control of. You have control of approaching and giving every person you come in counsel with the best version of yourself. And you always want to say that you tried. The worst they could say is no, or the relationship not work. But you always want to say that you gave it your all, because I'm a firm believer that everybody that crosses our path is for a reason, even if you don't know it at the moment. So definitely always shoot your shot, never hold back, and always make sure that you know that you gave it your all and you tried to network with this person. My next tip is treat people the way you want to be treated. So sounds simple, but it really goes a long way. So I kind of got this part personally. I'm a first generation Dominican from the Dominican Republic, and you know, hospitality has always been very big in my household. So you always want to treat people the way you want to be treated, because it sounds simple, but a lot of people in life, you know, are not heard, don't feel like they're valued, and sometimes people need to wait to find out certain things, who they are, what they represent, what accolade they have in life. But if you have that perspective when you walk in a room that you're going to treat every single person the way you would want to be treated, it's going to go a long way. I think that that was part of the success of my company and myself. When we held events, it didn't matter who you were. I didn't know who you were. I treated every single person the way would like to be treated. And it really took me a long way. And also on a deeper level, you know, life is a roller coaster. You never know where life is going to take you. And the same people you see on the way up, you'll see on the way down. And you want to make sure that you always treated everybody with grace, respect, and love. And that's why I feel like treating people the way you want to be treated is very important. Last but not least, I want to say be present. So, what does it mean to be present? It means that so many people in life are always thinking about the past or the future and don't really know how to be present. And you never know, you only might get like 2-3 minutes with this important person that you want to meet that might play a major role in your life and in your business. And you want to make sure that you gave them your undivided attention and you listen to them very clearly. And also you make sure that you conveyed your message very clearly. And another thing that I want to mention that's very important, whether it's a high level CEO that has fame or a celebrity, an artist, you always want to make sure that you're in there and you're present for the right reason. So even after you made the connection and you caught a vibe, you don't want to go for the picture. You want to go for the person's phone number. You want to go for their email because it shows a level of professionalism and it shows that you're really interested in staying in contact with them and really want to see how you can add value to them and see how they can add value to you. Now, I want to say, ladies and gentlemen, that, these things sound simple, but they've been able to take my company everywhere that we've been, take myself, have a network with people all over the world, including the people that are putting this together. So please don't underestimate them. Thank you so much to everyone for putting this together. I want to thank Jacoby, Lulu, dope people on the Revel. And remember, you're all too blessed to be stressed. Things will get greater later. Peace, love, and happiness, everyone.
My man, the one and only Vlad. Appreciate you, bro. I see a lot of people know Vlad in the chat, showing you love. It is all love on our side as well.
Yeah.
Would you guys mind stopping the sharing of your screen? And I'm going to bring David and Gabby up here. All right. I see everyone in here. All right. All right. Looks like Vlad is gone. Appreciate him. David and Gabby, what's up? David, how you doing, man? Where are you? Tell us where you're at. All those brands behind you.
I'm in Los Angeles, in Southern California. And I love that Vlad just said too blessed to be stressed, because I actually have that on my shirt right now. Too blessed to be stressed. So just a good omen here. We're all on the same page. Love it.
Right on. And Gabby, where are you at?
I'm normally based in California, but I'm in Denver, Colorado this week.
Represent.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So I have the three of you on here, and of course, Lulu, and we want to understand, you guys all have distinct paths into the industry, and we intentionally set it up that way, right? David, you're going to give us a little bit of background on yourself, but you come from a staffing agency perspective. Gabby has the point of view of a different type of agency, contractors, people that aren't necessarily full-time employees, consultants. And then Vladamir, the man that built his empire through his network. And so I think all of you bring an interesting perspective. As the kind of first question I really want to get into is, first of all, tell me about what you guys do and why you do it. So David, why don't you start us off?
Sure. So I am the CEO and founder of Flowerhire. We have been on a mission to build a conscious cannabis community, one hire at a time, for the last 3.5 years. We have helped companies in cannabis hire over 500 folks in the last several years. Our real niche and focus historically has been, we'll call it 6-figure cannabis jobs, management director level positions across plant touching cannabis companies. And we've worked with as many multi-state operators as California clients, as single state operators in emerging markets like Michigan, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Arizona, and yeah.
Right on. All right, how about you, Gabby?
First of all, I just want to say, Vlad, that was amazing. And I agree with everything you just said. I loved it. Good people started to kind of cater to the cannabis industry during the pandemic, because it's, been a challenge for a lot of people. I mean, I love the questions that are coming in. How do you network, in this weird time? How do you meet other people in the industry during this weird time? Like, we are a completely virtual company. We have 63 consultants. A lot of them have seasoned experience in the cannabis industry and other industries, but a lot of them are also brand new to cannabis. We want to be a way that people can learn about the cannabis industry and help us elevate it. So we are a community internally, but we are a consulting company externally.
Right on. And normally Lulu and I stay out of the conversation too much, and I just ask you guys a question. But given that the cannabis industry is so diverse with opportunity, Lulu, I'm going to put you on the spot without warning you. Why are you in the cannabis industry?
Well, that's kind of how you and I met, right, Jacoby? So if people don't know, Jacoby and I are both tech. He's math and I'm UX. So what we found that was interesting was, there's not a lot of real data that's happening. It's almost like the beginning of, I experienced, I'm going to date myself. I went through the first .com, kind of the tech revolution in the 90s. So it had a very much of that spirit. It's that spirit of, hey, there's nothing really preventing me from trying to do whatever I want. There's like that unlimitedness that is part of a new industry. So for me, I would love to create these systems and tools that are, helping drive the industry to maturity, which is real data, which is consistent data. And that's, how you and I kind of met, Jacoby. Our original group was called the Cannabis Tech Group. It's evolved a lot more now, but so my place is trying to help create and digitize SOPs, standardize information and data sets, and to be used to grow the industry.
What a nerd. Just kidding. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I put you on the spot and I appreciate that, just to show that like we could bring 40 people in here that have completely different takes and perspectives and jobs in the industry. I guess the next question I want to ask to everybody really is, I'm imagining we have a lot of people in our audience that are looking to transition into the industry. So I would guess there are professionals that work in other industries that are looking in. Maybe they want to start a new career. Maybe they want to start a new business. We heard some tips from Vlad, but David, what are the first steps that people should be thinking about if this is something they're considering?
Well, I think that the first thing is to recognize that cannabis can be an amazing industry to work in with amazing people, but it's important and it's great to appreciate the products and the plants, but not to lead with that when trying to find a job in it, right? I think you'll find this industry is full of people that appreciate and love the plants, but it's really about a knowledge of the product, a knowledge of the plant and how it works, and education is the first step to really owning that opportunity when you're introduced to a company that may be hiring for somebody. That's where it starts with, is this plant has an amazing history. We're don't even understand completely why it does what it does for different people, but it's always a kind of a start there, is just education is my first suggestion.
And actually I've had some people that are the proactive people in our community reach out and ask me their questions before we even set up today. So if you hear your question, you know who you are. I had a question that was, should I go to Green Flower Media or Oaksterdam in order to get that background knowledge to get into the industry? What's your opinion on things like that?
Me specifically, or Gabby?
Sure. We'll start with you again, David.
Sure. I think they're both phenomenal resources, and I respect what Oaksterdam did of really being the first mover and the pioneers in the space. And I think they have a great library of content. I think Green Flower has a bit more, digital, and I think they're moving into partnerships with universities and even partnerships with companies and being part of their like employee onboarding plan. So I think either one is perfectly fine, and they both have amazing content. I think you've got to identify kind of the lane in which you want to find yourself in the industry, and then see what content is available other than just the broad information on the plant itself and the history of the plant, which both are fine resources for.
Gabby, how about you? How did you get your knowledge base up? And what are the things you thought were important for your career to learn?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a lifelong learner and I totally agree with David. Education is everything wherever you can get it. I think the tough part is knowing where the good sources are, where the good resources are, because there's just so much information out there. I highly recommend Marijuana Moment. If you don't read Marijuana Moment and subscribe to this, I mean, every single day, it's such great information from all over the world, all different areas. Really, really great resource, and please contribute to it so it keeps going, because it is a huge, amazing source. I love that. Also, when I first got into the industry, I just asked everyone who I knew who worked in the industry, can I have like a few minutes of your time? Can I just talk to you and learn from you? And I just want to be a sponge. Can I come with you to a dispensary? Can I see what you're doing? Can I talk to you? And then honestly, spending as much time as you possibly can. I mean, it's harder these days with, quarantine in some places and, stores being closed, but spending time in retail, talking to the staff, talking to every single person in the staff, talking to the person who checks your ID at the door, talking to everyone who works there. What are your favorite products? What are the fastest selling products? What do you see next? What do you want next? What would you want me to develop? I pick everyone's brain because I want to know everything. And I highly recommend that.
Yeah, I mean, look, we have a lot of people reach out to us. How do I get in the industry? How do I educate myself? And I think one thing I'm hearing is, first of all, you just have to be proactive. The fact that you have that mindset is great. Just go find that information, those resources the best you can. I will say that I personally, I worked at a licensed facility in Denver for a couple of years before I moved to New York. And even when I went to New York, I saw Oaksterdam was doing their first horticulture class in New York. Obviously, there wasn't like a plant touching element. And I signed up for that because I worked on the tech side. I worked with manufacturing and retail a lot, but I didn't actually learn about the elements of the plant. And I was personally curious to that. Though I would say, on the other hand, it's not always necessary. If you're an accountant, be a really good accountant, understand what the plant can do for people, but you don't need to understand every little piece of the nutrients in order to transition your career. So it's kind of two sides. Go for it, Lulu.
I'm going to jump into other group organizations like Women Grow, Elementa. Those are all the great resources to join and to network and just to talk. Jacoby and I actually met at a Women Grow event in New York. So great things happen when you meet people magically.
Most def. So I also think that a misconception about getting in the cannabis industry is so many people are focused on what I think of as like the glorified career paths, right? Like I want to own a dispensary or I want to create products, but there's so much opportunity in ancillary businesses. And Vlad, as somebody that came up as an OG in cannabis, right? Happy Munkey is more of a media company. You guys create content. You guys have a huge reach. Talk to me about like how you were able to flip that mindset into be a complementary business to the industry.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jacoby. We are, what milestones we've reached without being a plant touching company. And it goes back to a little bit of what you said, like, so many people have I want to be a grow license, dispensary license. And this industry has every job that any other industry has, plus more. So we found our angle in like being in New York and seeing that there wasn't much representation of New York and of the culture. We found our niche there, then sort of became like a nexus between corporate cannabis and culture cannabis, and sort of became the voice for people over here that don't have a voice, and just like meeting people, like, you know, I'm a firm believer that I look at people like books. Every person you meet, either you learn what to do or what not to do. So like Gabby was mentioning earlier, I'm big on mentoring. So since I got in this industry, I've been fortunate enough to meet people like you guys and people from all over the country that really took out the time to explain to me, you know, how they're succeeding, how they're failing. And that helped us find our niche, and it became events, media, merchandise, and it's just keeps on going from there. But it's like you said, there is the big mistake people make is putting themselves in a box. This cannabis industry is so diverse, so wide, so many opportunities. It's bigger than processing, cultivation, and retail.
Totally
Yeah, absolutely.
agree.
And if you're looking for a mentor or some guidance or somebody you can pick their brain, um, a tip that I think a lot of people need to realize, they often come to that conversation saying, hey, give me knowledge, give me your time, give me something. And though you might have a good intent, these people are busy. That's why you want to talk to them. If you change that mindset and go like, hey, I have these skills. Hey, I have this time. How can I help you? Vlad, what can I do for you, bro? Like just going to work for Happy Munkey for a couple hours, all of a sudden you're going to get put on game to a bunch of things you didn't even realize that you know, should be learning. So as you started thinking about how do I pivot into this game, think about what assets and resources and value you can bring to people. And you'd be surprised that that comes back 2x so many more times.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that Vlad hit on the head too, that there's more of a diversity of job title and responsibility in a vertically integrated cannabis company than any other company in any other industry, as far as I can tell, not to mention all the different ancillary services that feed a company with a diversity of, you know, functions like that, right? So there is truly a home for anyone with any background. I also think that one of the challenges for folks of getting into this space sometimes is, you know, society programs us to look at career in a very linear way. Like I start off, I move up to a supervisor, I'm a manager, now I'm a director. In cannabis, it's not about that because the industry is not mature enough. And I've seen stories of, and personally, of lawyers taking a second job as a bud tender because they're so interested in the industry and meeting some amazing entrepreneur that they stuck out to them, just serving cannabis to them. And that turned into them being a co-founder of a company, right? Now, obviously not everyone can work a second job or start off, you know, and support themselves as a bud tender per se. But at the same time, I just think it's because it's just such a formative phase. It's just about getting into the space in any manner that you can, because there's so much work to do and there's so much need for these companies that if you're a talented person who's driven and also is capable, like you'll be able to show your capabilities super quickly and move up a lot quicker than I think other industries, especially like retail and like light industrial type stuff.
So speaking of that, David, I just want to ask, you know, tell our audience, like, what are some of the characteristics or traits other than their skill set? Like, what are some characteristics that will make them successful in transitioning into the cannabis industry? I'm going to ask all three of you that, but David.
I think humble is a big one, because at the end of the day, you might be really good at the job that you have in the current industry you're in, but you're going to have to learn how to do it a lot differently in this one. So the humility to recognize your own, you know, sort of weak, you know, areas of improvement as a professional, and the idea that you're going to have to bend the knee to somebody in this industry who went to jail for this plant. And that also is where humility comes into play. So I think that's a big, important character trait.
Gabby, what have you seen in successful consulting folks that have come through your agency?
Definitely passion. You have to be passionate about this plant and all of its benefits. It is a medicine first and foremost. If you are coming into the cannabis industry just to make a lot of money, honestly, I would go do something else. If you have purpose and you have passion for this plant and you want to make the world better with cannabis, you can also make money but you should not just come into this industry to make money. You should have purpose and passion for this medicine, for sure.
And Vlad, what about you? Like when you're adding folks to your team, what's the theme that's coming across with your team members that you love?
One thing is that I look for, and I definitely agree with what David and Gabby said, but in addition to that, is patience. The reason that I look for somebody that's patient is because this industry is in its infancy, changes every day, and it's evolving and growing every day. And you have to come in this industry when you come in to work for a company like mine or anybody else's, with the fact that you might have to wear many different hats. You might have to do a little extra than you would another industry, but it's all for the better good, because when you're helping doing that for my company, you're just not doing that for my company. You're helping the industry grow, because each one of us that are on here, Gabby, David, we're not only helping our companies grow, we're helping the industry grow as a whole. So having that perspective and looking for somebody that has that level of understanding has really helped me find people to add to the team.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I wanted to comment back on what David was talking about the mobility that's possible in a new industry. I'll say a brief history of how I got into this game. I graduated college with a math degree. I was like, all right, I'm ready. And I went and got a job as a maintenance man at a cannabis facility. And my dad was like, bro, what are you doing? You just finished school. You got a very strong degree. But I was just so fascinated by the opportunity. And all my friends were applying to be like bud tenders or, things like that. And I was like, bud tending is cool, but then I'm stuck behind a counter. As a maintenance man, I'm seeing everything about how this plant works. And I was there for about a year. And then I was able to just talk to the president. No lie, I was fixing his desk in his office when he didn't have a meeting. And I was talking to him about my degree and some things I saw that we could do with this operation that they weren't doing. This is a $15 million annually, or a company that's making $15 million annually. And I had a direct line to the president and just say, look, man, I think you guys are messing up. Here's some things. And I hopped over to being head of everything tech and data. Right. And then all of a sudden I was able to bounce into all of these other consulting roles from there. Now I'm a partner in a terpenes company. Like all of these things just kind of went their own ways. But if I was trying to go up the corporate ladder, there'd be roadblocks that I would not be able to just like bounce around. So I don't say that at all to gloat or anything. I'm just saying that like the mobility and the way you could be agile in this game and something that's so new is it's really empowering for people that are ambitious and want to try something new.
It's funny you say that, Jacoby. Part of my practice when I'm bringing somebody on board is because I believe we live in a nuanced era, and the era of, people wanting to work at a company 25 years and collect their 501k or their benefits is over. So when in the initial interview of a person that's coming to talk to me and wants to work with us, I ask them, what is your goal? What's your passion? Not in Happy Munkey, in life. What's your end all be all? Because while you're here, I want to help you get to that level and help prepare you. And if anything, see how I can help that come to fruition down the line for you, not for Happy Munkey, but for you, because I believe that's important. It helps the morale when somebody comes and work for me, when I'm already thinking about their future beyond Happy Munkey.
I love that.
And that would probably explain why everybody that started at Happy Munkey is still rocking with Happy Munkey this many years later. So I got a humble brag for you, Vlad. All right, look, we got about 20 minutes, but we have a flood of questions. So I'm gonna start pulling in some things from the audience here. Here's a question about, what does the East Coast cannabis market look like for people with an MBA, but no cannabis industry experience? So I think we covered some moves here, but I would like to give some real talk about an MBA in a traditional industry versus a cannabis industry. David, this might be in your lane.
Yeah, I think that this industry is still pre-MBA in a lot of ways. It's not a blueprint, that on how to build a SaaS company so I think a lot of MBA programs don't necessarily prepare people for this industry unless it's more centered around entrepreneurship, which some of them do. But we've done some partnerships actually with USC's Marshall School out here and NYU, and in terms of trying to place some interns for companies kind of in both coasts that have a need, and a lot of those are unpaid, but it's exposure to the industry. And what those people end up doing is focusing on like commercialization and like marketing insights type work as on the brand side, and then often focus more on like just the forecasting and modeling side of, because obviously there's a lot of variables in finding your profit margins in a plant touching company. So I think it's, it goes back to the humility thing, and just there's plenty of opportunity for a very talented person to show what they can do in a cannabis company if you get the shot, and it's just be up for anything. Nothing's beneath you, and you'll be able to apply that education very quickly.
Yeah, I have a tip here that I think people are sleeping on. We're in a digital world. Everybody's used to being digital right now. They're doing interviews for jobs digitally. You can live in New York where there's not many opportunities. Go apply to some shit in California. Worst thing that happens is you get all the way down to the end and you're like, I'm not willing to move over there. But now you've either learned why they weren't going to accept you or what kind of salary they were willing to offer you, and play the game. Like just take the shot, like Vlad was saying earlier.
Take the shot. And one quick pro tip on that, I think it's great advice. Change your address on your resume before you send it. If you're sending it to a company in Oakland, California, put your address as Oakland, California with a zip code, and you'll probably get a screen.
There you go.
And I'm also going to add, David, you guys just launched FlowerX. So it's an engine. So everyone who's asking, like, how do I get into David's pool of candidates? How do I apply for a job? FlowerX is an engine, a tech engine that they just launched, which displays a bunch of positions that are across many different types of cannabis companies. And then they'll actually give you a ranking. So once you upload your information, it'll give you a ranking of a match of your background to that position. So just wanted to put that plug in there too, David.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, basically, we've focused on a certain level of position in the industry, but the need we always hear from operators, from HR, from executives, it's hard to figure out how to hire frontline workers for this industry that are the right fit. And this industry needs to hire hundreds of thousands of people that don't have cannabis experience the next 10 years, right? So, careersincannabis.com is where we're betaing that, sort of find your best fit in cannabis. Retail would be better for me, or I'd actually be good in this processing center. I never even knew what processing was, so that it's in beta form and it's working, but more's coming there.
Gabby, how do folks get in touch with you?
Yeah, we are goodpeople.work, WORK. And you can actually fill out the form right there on the landing page if you're interested in talking to us. The email gets sent directly to me and I reach out and we have a chat. We have a ton of people on the East Coast already within Good People. I think the East Coast is the future in cannabis in the US. It is a very important market. And if you're there, you're actually a trend setter, because you shouldn't move to California necessarily. You should stay where you are, because it's going to be a big deal coming soon.
I have another question here. We talked about using, I guess, the crisis to your advantage. I don't know if that's politically correct, but taking advantage of the opportunities of right now. Networking is different. A lot of people in the audience probably used to come to our events. I know David and Vlad definitely have been, where we had in-person events with DJ O spinning, where you could meet people, connect, and build relationships besides just the speakers. Now, how do you guys imagine that people should be taking advantage of this current situation to network with other people? What are some tricks, some tips, some things that you've seen that have gone well, or that you do?
I'm going to give them the biggest trick I got going right now, which is Clubhouse. I think that right now that is the closest thing to a Revel concert, to a Happy Munkey event, to a Flowerhire, event, is that, because like you have people from all over the country, all over the world there speaking, and you might be in a room with a billionaire, with an MSO, with who knows what. And right now, you have to really make the best hand of the cards you're dealt. So, LinkedIn, Clubhouse, all these different things, they've always been there, but now you really have to really like maximize and optimize them fully, because there's not many other options in connecting with people, in my opinion.
I met Vlad on Clubhouse.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
David,
Clubhouse.
we're trying to get David on there. We're trying to get David on there. I've been working on it.
I've been on a few Clubhouse. It's amazing because you're right. It's 200 people from all over the industry, operators from all over the place. And it can be fantastic. I haven't got on there yet, but it's coming. But I think that we're in a virtual world, and we all like to think there's gonna be events by the summer, but I don't know if that's really the case. So I think the best thing to do is there are virtual events that do work, that do have networking, and might as well utilize that. And a lot of them are free to attendees. And so networking with anyone in the space is good. I also think that like if you're in an area that has cannabis activity, you figure out which ones, the shops that are open, and go talk to people because they're open. It's essential. Hey-o. And just if you are social media savvy, be all over the local shops, Instagrams and everything like that, to try to, build your inroads into whatever industry is around you.
Low key, David had one of the best digital events I've ever been to, complete with amazing networking. I met a lot of really dope people. It randomly matched you up with other people. That was fire. That wasn't even meant to be a setup, but you guys did excellent on that.
Definitely agree with Clubhouse. LinkedIn, I've been seeing, Anatoly posted about that in the chat. It is so true. LinkedIn is like the one social media that you won't get shut down on if you talk about cannabis, and Clubhouse too. I mean, for sure. You do have to be a little careful on Instagram and Facebook, with what you post. There are no written rules, so it's a little bit confusing, but people like Thomas in the audience are pros when it comes to Instagram. You need to like really learn from someone who has figured out the unspoken, unwritten rules there. But LinkedIn, connect with as many people on LinkedIn as you can, and you can find so many great resources there as well.
Okay, I have another good question, and I'm kind of reading into it a little bit. The question is, any suggestions for these are quotes, more seasoned person to enter the industry? And if I'm reading into that, I'm guessing that they mean, is there any tips for somebody that's coming from the legacy, the OG market, to come into the newly regulated market? Vlad, can you tell us about experiences you've seen with other people?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I've been in the legacy market for 22 years, as you said, considered an OG. And it's very simple. It's about like reaching out to a person like me, and I can help people understand how to make the transition and putting themselves out there. It's basically like, you taking all your skills, all your knowledge, and just learning the regulations, learning the way that your state is going about things, and really tapping into the people that have, companies of culture, corporate companies. And, a lot of people, it's the fear of the unknown. And as everybody on here can attest to, this is a very welcoming industry. Even if you are from the legacy market, you come up to somebody like me, David, Jacoby, Gabby, we will try to, enlighten you. We'll try to give you resources and give you the blueprint of how to transition, So I think that that's a big thing that people have a fear of, but this industry is like no other. I think we have the best, humane, humble, understanding people that will help someone that is really serious about making that transition happen, So I think I'm a prime example of that.
I have another question in here. about what about people with felonies getting into the industry?
I could take that on. I mean, I think it's really unfortunate that some of the medical states, you know, I don't know if there's two different types of felonies, right? We're talking about a cannabis felony. There's some states where that's a huge plus, actually. And there's some that will disqualify you from working in the legal market at this point, which is ridiculous. I will say that, so you have to research your own state that you're looking in and move to the one you can work in if you have a cannabis conviction right now. But obviously it'll hopefully all change nationwide. On the other side, like if there's a cannabis employers are second chance employers regardless. It just matters of if they're allowed to, based on the regs in their state. And many companies don't do a background check unless it's absolutely required. And again, some states require every single hourly production worker of any kind to get badged through the state, and some don't, and leave it up to the cities to decide. So there's really no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, I can speak also to the fact that when I was in Colorado like 4 or 5 years ago, we had an OG that was one of the original creators of live resin. Live resin is like an extract product. And he had a felony. He had a couple things in his background that were restricting him, because in Colorado, everybody had to get checked and badged. However, he was so good at his craft that as a consultant, he was able to basically say, hey, I have these special skills and these services. I can train your team on how to do this. Now, all things considered, I think he actually probably would have netted out with more money long-term if he could have came in as a partner to that company. But I do think that there's a lot to be said about, that the systems are broken, and we need to advocate to make sure that the people that built this industry get their rightful place within it. But B, playing the system and playing the game as best we can, you're going to have to get creative. Find groups that are sympathetic, or create your own career path, right? If you have a certain skill, create your own entity and sell that.
Yeah, I'm a hugely passionate person about this topic. My brother actually has a federal felony for cannabis possession, and that's actually a rare felony to get in the industry. So even though, states are expunging felonies, federal ones are not until it's, decriminalized here. There are, great large programs like Last Prisoner Project, but there's also local programs like Project Green, and some really cool programs that they're doing at the local level. If you have a cannabis felony, like David said, it can actually be an asset in a lot of places. So reach out to me if you want any help with that.
I have a question I'm going to pose to you, Gabby. Someone asked, how do you become a consultant? Actually lost the exact verbiage. Oh yeah. What type of qualifications would you need to become a cannabis consultant?
Yeah, it's a great question because, Jacoby, like you said, I mean, a lot of people even start out as consultants because it's such a great way to like dip your toe into a couple different things and see what you like. I think what I've heard so much from people getting into the cannabis industry is I just took the first job that I could because I wanted to get in so bad. And that's kind of what you get to do with consulting. So, that's kind of why the good people model works so well, is you can work on a couple projects and really find out what you're passionate about. So there is not really any qualifications that we look for at Good People. First, we look for, are you a good person? Like, what does that mean? Do you care about the plant and the industry? Like Vlad said, we're really trying to bring people in, grow this industry, educate people, like David said. We really want to like destigmatize cannabis together. And if that is your mission, seriously, email me. We have a place for you and we'll figure it out, because it doesn't matter what you do. That's secondary to us. Like, we have people who do regulatory, legal, compliance, supply chain operations. I see all these people saying what they do. We have a need for you in this industry. Please come in and help us. We need all of you.
Yeah, most
100%. That is very true. You know, your heart's in the right place, and you're willing to and able to do whatever just with a shot. I agree 100% with that.
I would also just say for some people that might feel that they don't have very distinguishing skills, and maybe don't feel confident as a consultant, I'll tell you right now, there's very unique rules in every single state, and people get paid that are not lawyers. They get paid to read those rules and keep up with the changes. Like, having a compliance officer is a job. You read it, you take notes, and then when your boss asks you, hey, what should our packaging looks like? You're the person that did it. There's nothing special about that job but reading and understanding the rules. Now, granted, that's not for me. I can't read technical shit for my life. But I'm just saying how you can get creative. You don't need a hard skill for that.
Yeah, and what we do at Good People is we allow people to either lead projects, support projects, or shadow projects. So like, even if you're nervous, coming into a consulting company and you're like, I don't want to lead a project right out the gate, you can shadow. So what that means is you can actually watch a project happening. And we've had people who shadowed the project become the leader, after learning a little bit more about it. And so that's what's really cool is, you just need to get in and start learning. That's the most important thing.
All right, we have maybe 1 or 2 more minutes. I'm sorry we're not going to get to all of the questions. But as DJO is getting ready, I just want to pose a question to all 4 of you. I'm going to put Lulu back in the game too. If you had one more tip that we didn't talk about for people that are interested in getting into the cannabis industry, what would it be? I won't even put that on you. If there's a tip that we did mention that you think also needs to be reiterated, I'll let that slide as well. All right. Let's start with you, Gabby.
I would say really just try to search kind of deep within yourself and ask yourself, why do I want to get into cannabis? And make sure that that is really clear to you, because the best advice I've ever been given is you should love what you do every day. You should wake up every day with purpose and passion. And I feel that way working in cannabis. And if that is not you, honestly, figure out what that is and go do it, because like, it just changes everything when you wake up with purpose and passion every day.
All right, David.
I mean, it was well said. I mean, I think it's that cannabis for the right person is that chance for harmony where you can actually go into work and be who you are and do something that you're good at, do something that you can support yourself and your family, but also makes the world a better place for the right people. And it's very rare to find that. And that's what the attitude and culture of the organizations in this industry that are, for the most part, that are winning or are doing okay and able to function, have that where it doesn't matter if you're putting stickering labels on a jar, or if you're helping the company raise money, whatever your level, like everyone loves going to work every day.
Lulu, what about you?
I'm going to say there's 2 for me. I'd say trust your gut and just say yes. Just say yes, meaning, like everyone's mentioned, there's going to be times you're going to need to be humble. You might have to work for free. You might be an intern. You might not have the salary that you expected to have at your position. I'm going to say trust your gut too, because you're going to meet a lot of different types of characters in cannabis. And it's really important to, find your tribe. If you feel good with someone, work with them. If your instinct is saying, whoa, there's something a little bit weird about this, don't. So I think it's really important to really find the people that are going to support you during hard times, because cannabis is the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows. So find people that you're going to be able to hang out with too, because there's going to be a lot of ups and downs, and you're going to have to like these people and work together to move forward.
Lulu is the vibe inspector. Like if you pass the Lulu test, you're good people for sure. All right, Vlad, closing thoughts.
Okay, so yeah, mine would be show up and do your due diligence. So what does that mean? That means that you have to, of course not right now because of COVID and quarantine, show up to the on the Revels, to all the cannabis events going on throughout the country, show up to all the virtual events like this. Now, this helps you do your due diligence, because the information as far as like how to get in and how to succeed in this industry, it's not as available as in other industries. So I believe that the more you show up and you do your due diligence on the different companies, the different regulations, and how this market and industry and culture is changing, the better odds you'll have at succeeding at it. And you'll really understand if you really want to be a part of it, as David and Gabby mentioned, or like maybe, you know, it's something that you're just a fan of from the outside, but showing up and doing your due diligence will really narrow that down for you than just hearing about it through third parties. That's my final thought.
For sure. I'm gonna add one part that's a bit of a shameless plug here, but look, if you enjoy our content or you enjoy these speakers, the reason we do this on Zoom is because we vet these speakers. I love Clubhouse. I made a ton of connections. In fact, my biggest claim to fame on Clubhouse is I put Vlad on Clubhouse, and I'm gonna keep it that way. But you know, we put a lot of time into making sure we got the right people talking to you guys. And when I said you can give first, if there's other people in the trenches trying to figure out their move, connect them with us, put them onto these, get them in the room so that they are, you know, getting that education up. We have another series coming up for March. I'm going to hand that to Lulu to give you the little rundown, but we couldn't do this series without Cold Shots, our sponsor. They really made it happen and they came through for us. Let me tell you guys, finding sponsors in the COVID environment is tough and we really appreciate them. And of course, Can Inclusive was our partner in figuring out all the programming and getting the word out. And of course, our panelists, we literally couldn't do it without you. So Lulu, before I hand it over to DJ O, if you just give them a quick little taste of what we have coming in March.
Yeah, so in March, we're celebrating women. So we're going to only have these amazing women in cannabis. And specifically, we really wanted to give an audience an understanding of what it is to have a license, being cultivators, processors, and retail operators. So the programming is going to be like, tell us the first 60 days, you know, really educate us, let us know the transparency and ground truth of what it means to have a license in one of those three fields. So pretty excited to you know, give everyone on the East Coast that we have here a real understanding of what it means to be in the trenches. So we hope you join us in March.
Yes, please. Once again, thank you all for joining. I'm going to send a link in the chat. Tell us how we did. That's how we communicate with our partners and show that people love the content we're putting out. And on that note, thank you all. DJ O, my man, take it away.
Peace.